every university teaches history in like a certain way. So when you study modern or classic or ancient history at a different uni, not Brighton, it's just more of an information gathering. I see it as, and from talking to other students at these universities. But with the skills that I've got here, you can analyse the world today and back then around you in like moral terms, philosophical terms, political terms. And there is no other uni in England that offers an interdisciplinary course like this.
One of the main attractions was the focus on seminars and small group seminars and discussion that the University of Brighton offered. So that was one of the main reasons why I chose to come here.
Obviously, when everyone came, loads of people were shy, no one really talked up. But after a year of like gaining all those primary skills, it's turned into something so much more. Every single seminar, there's a heated debate. The students are really encouraged to talk.
One of the semesters of Globalisation, History and Identity explores the relationships between Islam and the West. So it thinks about both Western culture and Islamic culture as being forms of globalisation. And it thinks about the long history of interactions and engagement between those two globalising cultures. So one very important sort of topic that we look at is the work of Edward Said. Edward Said published a book in the 1970s called Orientalism, and that really changed the way that academics thought about how the so-called Middle East or Islam was represented within Western texts. So Said argues that we can see taking place over the last 2,000 years of Western culture a kind of insistent inferiorisation of Islamic culture in representations by the West, where a binary opposition is at work that always insists that Western culture is superior, that Islamic culture or Middle Eastern culture is inferior.
So this term we're doing piracy, and we're doing things like way back to 1600s, Caribbean pirates, the way they operated outside of a nation state, which is what the world has been decided by European powers and hegemony. And then we do follow that right up to modern day piracy. So things like stealing a DVD or internet piracy, and how the laws changed over so much time and what laws apply to different people, and especially different people of colour when we're talking about Mediterranean piracy and Caribbean piracy, then going on to talk about slavery and colonialism.
We live in an increasingly globalised world today, so increasingly the societies of the world have connections between one another. And those connections mean that in a sense we kind of live in a different scale or at a different scale than our parents would have done, or certainly our ancestors 50 years or 100 years or 200 years ago would have done. So globalisation is really one of the most important phenomena of today's world. So anybody who is seriously interested, I think, in thinking about the questions, the very kind of like immediate questions which we are presented with today, must think about processes of globalisation.